No matter how much value you have, if you don't learn things, you can't run a business.
What if digital marketing was more than just an industry, but a movement redefining how brands and influencers connect?
Be happy at what you do was actually a major thing for me.
Tiwalola Olanubi has been at the forefront of this transformation, pioneering influencer marketing, media strategy, and digital communications in Nigeria.
So everyone is an influencer because everyone that has a page or has a profile on social media has been given that power to influence.
From building Dot Media House into a leading marketing and advertising firm, to expanding his entrepreneurial reach with ventures like Zarafet Loaves, Forge and Flip, and Trendupp Africa.
Consistency is a key part of growth. You need to pay attention because one of the ways businesses get swept out or gets removed is not evolving.
Tiwalola's journey is a masterclass in innovation, adaptability, and strategic growth.
A business cannot thrive on popularity, but you can thrive on profits.
Today, we explore how he built a media empire, shaped digital culture, and continues to drive impact across multiple industries. Hi, Tiwa. Thank you so much for coming. I know this wasn't exactly very easy for you. You're just coming from a flight and you came straight here. I really appreciate your presence. It's interesting. Your background is in quantity surveying. How did you transition into digital marketing and media strategy?
Okay, I think my story is a typical Nigerian story because most times when I speak with friends in their entrepreneurial journey or friends that are running business as well, I realize they are not actually running a business in what they actually studied. My story is one of those. I studied in University of Lagos, the great Akokite.
I was expecting that. Unilag people.
I got in and I think immediately I got into 100 level. That was when I already knew I wasn't going to practice quantity surveying. This was because one, the course was a 5-year course. Secondly, it was heavy on maths. And I'm
everybody's headache.
Not a maths person at all. But before I go into school, I was interested in things around construction, things around geology. That was interesting to me. But as soon as I go into school in 100 level, looking at what the courses was about, it was similar to engineering. I knew that this wasn't interesting to me. It was boring. That's the truth. From 100 level, even though I wasn't interested, it was important to me that I was going to do well in school. I was going to graduate. I was going to make sure that I come out properly. But what happened in 100 level / 200 level was that I started to find my path. So in school, I dressed so well. I was quite popular in my faculty first. Gradually, I became quite popular on campus. Just from dressing, people that want to do an event on campus or in Lagos generally, and want to use students, would actually reach out to me, would come, ask for someone in school that can be a promoter.
Interesting.
There's something we call a publicity shirt.
Okay.
Yeah, so the publicity shirt is basically like a round neck shirt where you print your event details. And because you are influential on campus, because you're popular, once you wear a shirt like that, people want to attend the event.
So you were already influencing.
Influencing, yes.
Interesting.
Even though we didn't know what name it was called. I was popular in the Faculty of Environmental Science. Gradually, as I go into 200 level, I was quite popular from just dressing well and people knowing that, oh, when there's a major project on campus, TJ Dots is someone that will be, once is attached to it or once is a part of it, would be a good event. So before I knew it, I was getting a lot of that. Projects would want to happen on campus, activations, concerts, they will reach out to me.
You weren't looking for things.
Wasn't.
They just came looking.
I didn't plan for it. I didn't know what it was about. I was just doing my own thing, but I attracted quite a bit of lifestyle savvy people on campus. So I started to have friends that are lifestyle conscious and everything. So we're just being known as cool guys on campus and everything.
Interesting.
And from that, what happened was that in 200 level, Blackberry came into Nigeria. They were establishing for the first time, even though they had been existing for long, but establishing in Nigeria for the first time. And they were going to sign up ambassadors. And in signing up ambassadors, they didn't go through the usual route of signing musicians, footballers, or movie stars. They wanted people that were influential on campus, majorly because their product was also going to be sold to young people. Most people that were using Blackberry then were young people. Once young people use the device, they influence their parents. They influence like their siblings. So they wanted to target young people. And the strategy was to sign influential people on campuses. So that was how I got into the mix of applying for the Blackberry Ambassador program. And I became the first ambassador for Blackberry in
So
Nigeria.
you applied for
I applied for it, yes. And it was also through someone knowing that I was influential on campus. I saw this thing that they're looking for ambassadors. I saw the criteria. You fit in perfectly. I think you should apply. And out of over 10, 15,000 people, I became the first ambassador.
That's a huge win.
That was, I would say, the first turning point in understanding exactly what I was going to become or what route I was going to take. For the next 4 or 5 years, from 200 level to final year, I basically handled product strategy. We'll get the phones like months before to review it properly and drop a marketing strategy for how it should be marketed to young people. Right. Would create activations in Abuja, Lagos, Calabar. As students on campuses, in key places in Lagos where young people go. I led that process. I was the lead for that. I did that for the next 4 or 5 years. That period was where I really understood what media was about, understood what aspect I was interested in, understood what influencer marketing was, because all these things we were doing, there was no name for it, or it was just, vibe. Okay,
so
it's
it was
cool.
almost as if you had a job while in school.
Exactly.
You did it throughout your school
From
year.
200 level to final year.
How were you balancing this with schoolwork?
Great. So, again, if you attend a school like Unilag, where Unilag students are quite industrious, from what I've seen compared to a lot of schools, the students there, and maybe because it's also in the center of Lagos, there's just that grit and that
Get up
motivation,
and do.
yes, you have from seeing a lot of the celebrities come on campus, a lot of entrepreneurs come on campus, and you hear their stories, and they tell you how they started something from campus. Remember, prior to this as well, I'd done a bit of entrepreneurship where there was something popular on campus then called Shambhala. It was like a hand bead, very popular. I was one of the top people selling it. It was just an accessory for fashion. And
as somebody who was always
good, people would want to buy it from me. I would go to Yaba and buy it. Maybe buy it like 200 naira, sell it for 800 naira. I did that all while I was in school. Even Blackberry was careful with how we were being engaged. A lot of things fell on weekends or in the evening. So if we have events, it will be in the evening. If we have press, because we did a lot of press as well, to talk about the products they were releasing, the Blackberry 10 devices. So it was quite a journey. That period was when I started to put a name to what I was doing. From the first year working with Blackberry, Twitter was a major platform that we're using to engage. This was a period when there was nothing like influencer. Nobody on Twitter was an influencer. Nobody. There was no Instagram, as a matter of fact. Instagram was not out. So what we're just basically doing was tweeting about the product. We didn't know it was called influencing.
You just wanted people to know about it.
Because as at that time, maybe this was 2008, 2009, I had about 18,000 to 20,000 followers.
On Twitter.
As at then, there was this activity where what we call viral now was called trending. Then Anandu would tweet something and say, RTJ Dots is now trending in Lagos. Adonjazi is now trending in Nigeria.
So somebody would have to tweet that.
Would have to tweet that. It's an official page.
Oh,
yes.
right.
So there's a way it's calculated, maybe how many mentions you've been able to get, how many. Right. So I think that period was when it really became a thing.
So the objective for you was to make Blackberry trend?
Was to make what Blackberry was doing, create awareness for that.
Okay.
That was one of the objectives. By using Twitter, we're able to reach more people, 12 ambassadors using Twitter to. This was when there was not so much noise on Twitter. So whenever you say something, it's loud, you get a lot of retweets. It was huge. And because that was also a first of its kind, there was no other brand that had done that where they signed young people that were not celebrities as the ambassadors. So people were really to know more about, what's this about? Anytime we put out an event, they want to attend. Across Lagos, we had people in Calabar, people in Port Harcourt, Abuja, Lagos, and I was the lead for that.
Was this you guys as ambassadors putting together this event?
Yes, everything. The planning,
the execution, the strategy,
the registration for it, everything about it.
But
we had an agency. When a brand comes into any country, the usual protocol is to work with a media agency. The media agency will be the one to execute the process of getting the ambassadors, which is what we do now, and I'm sure we'll get into the conversation. A company called Red Media Africa was in charge of that project. Blackberry was their client, and they were the ones in charge of signing up ambassadors, running the interview process, vetting the projects we want to come up. Because one of the things we also do is that on behalf of Blackberry, we source for projects for them to sponsor or partner with. So like a Miss Unilag, Miss Abuja.
Oh, wow.
We did an event called the Blackberry Music Talent that was won by Ricardo Banks in 2009. Then it was called Spicy.
That's
It was, yes, it
interesting.
registered. It was one of the talents and it was the winner.
So they literally trusted your eyes
Yes.
as students,
Yes.
knowing what other students
Would
want,
want, yes.
or be interested in. They gave you
The leeway.
100% creative control.
Yes. What also happened is that the onboarding process, picking the ambassadors, was a thorough process. Like it was almost 4 or 5 interview process. Over 10,000 of us. They will look at your history, what you had done. Because on campus, there were a lot of industrious people. So there was a process for how they were going to choose those that were creative enough, those that had the leadership skills as well. And that was the process for how we got that. Like I said, that 4 years was solid. By the second or third year, I didn't know it was supposed to be a career path. I just knew that this is something I do for fun, but they're paying me in dollars. Great stuff. And we're just doing it for fun. Then by the 4th year, I started to get people calling me to pay me to tweet. Like a Vector, the musician.
So early stage influencer.
Yeah, there was nothing.
Interesting.
Yeah. Vector, for example, I don't know if you remember the King Kong album. It was Twitter that was one of the mediums we used. So his manager just reached out to me, Nosa, and said, "We would like you to promote something. How much do you always charge?" I'm like, "Charge for what?" Like, like we don't charge for. And I think I called one ridiculous amount, maybe 5,000 naira or maybe just one ridiculous. And I was paid that. I was like, wow. But the next,
money
I can make money from just tweeting because I was doing it for Blackberry because that was just part of the work that we needed to do for Blackberry. It wasn't like the main thing. There was a whole lot of things.
So you guys were doing that as a means to a different end.
Yes.
So did you know nobody would want that as a service thing?
By the time the next set of people will reach out to me to do that same thing, I'd come up with the idea that instead of me being the one to do it alone, I was going to bring on an army of people. So I started to help people to build. So we're now being intentional with helping them to build their followership on Twitter. Yeah, because there was still no Instagram. So building their followership on Twitter, explain to them how they should tweet. When it's on a brand, there's some type of words you can use. This is because I've also now had 2-3 years experience working with a global brand.
Right.
So now I understand, even when I was joining them, I don't think I knew how to write a proper email. I feel like by the time the next set of people will reach out, I was now able to tell them, apart from getting me, you can get 5 more people. And this is what it will cost. And that was how it began. And up until then, immediately I graduated, I already knew I wasn't going to work for anyone. I knew that I was going to be media. I knew the key thing I was going to use to start, because I think that one thing I also learned is that when you're starting a company, you need something called a USP. That's the fastest way you're going to grow, which is your unique selling point. And for me, that was influencer marketing. So I kicked off Dot Media House with influencer marketing, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
It feels like you had all of the practice that you needed, and you had it at an early stage. That's grooming for about 4 years.
And it was a lot of activities helping you to understand things more, how media works, how it was a thorough training ground.
So by the time you were done, you were already pro at communicating.
Yes.
Helping. In an official capacity.
It had even
doing
grown.
Events.
Yes, it had even grown beyond influence. Now we do social media management at that time, but it was just a one-man thing. It wasn't like a company. I was just doing it as, I'm about to graduate, and I already know about how Instagram works, Twitter works, the experience from working on a global brand. And Nigerian brands, even the existing agency then, didn't understand how digital was working. So it was a huge door opening for me into the industry.
So by the time you were in final year, had Instagram come out then?
Yes, Instagram came out, I think, about 2012 or so. It became a tool as well. Everyone was still trying to understand how to use it for marketing, because it was a picture platform or a video. It was first
picture first.
It now evolved into a video. So I was at the forefront of all that, because there was no template. There was no template to follow. I think what was huge before then was blogging.
Right. Yes, everybody will go to blogs. And
before you do any advertising, you put out those things on the press, on the blogs. There was nothing like influencers. Let's give some people some money to take a picture with the product. So that was the process for what started my journey.
Interesting. Did you start Dots Media immediately after you left school?
Yeah. Okay. Immediately I left school, which was in 2013, I officially knew that I was going to be in that space. I had not registered the name or normal process for business, but I already started to function, because now I finished final year. I was out of Blackberry. Blackberry had even changed the strategy. I think the last one we did was with a company called Dynamics. They released something called BBM channels. It was a new feature
I
for their
remember
platform.
that.
They wanted people in school that had groups, maybe like an hostel, have your channel where you can communicate to everybody at large. Your faculty,
They were
you can
looking
have
for
a group, a
communities.
community, yes. So BBM channel was the first kind of community thing beyond MySpace and all those platforms. So our goal was to go on campuses and introduce the platform BBM channels to associations. They can be SUG, lecturers. That was the last project before I graduated that we did with Dynamics, the agency that managed us. In getting out of that, I was clear that is always my first conversation to every person that asks me how I got into this space. I think it was finding that purpose early.
At that time, you were dead sure.
I was sure at final year that I wasn't going to do any other thing. I think what happens as well is that now that I look back, I'm like, once you're dead sure like that, opportunities come forward because you are laser focused. You are basically, you're not distracted by anything. Any job opportunity that was coming, I wasn't interested. So I did that for about 1 year where I was just freelancing and doing media, again, working with musicians, movie stars to help them promote. After 1 year, I realized I was going to now become serious with it, start a company, build what will become a business. And as at that time, early 2014, I realized I needed to go for an internship because you can have all the value, you can have all the skill, all the ingredients you need to succeed. But if you miss out on the part of running a business, the skill of how to run a business, which is not something that jumps on you, you have to really go out and learn it. For me, how I went about that was to join a company called Redbox Africa, which you're a part of. It was a great journey. I did 6-7 months there. I think that was also my foundation for how a business should run, how managing team members, managing finance. These things are the core parts of actually running a true business. It's beyond you having the USP, beyond what you're selling. It's the important aspect of how the business will thrive. So I did that for 6 months. I became the digital lead for Redbox Africa, basically helped to grow the social media presence for the company. And in 6 months, I knew that I was already certain. I had already grabbed what I was looking for in terms of the ingredients needed to run the business. And just after that was when the whole journey began.
So that is interesting. You had already garnered certain skills.
Yeah.
As the Blackberry ambassador in Nigeria, what would you say were the key lessons or key skills that you learned and contributed to you being dead sure that this is my path in life?
Yeah. Okay. The first thing I would say would be whatever you're doing, make sure you are happy at it. It doesn't feel like work. That's when you will truly thrive as a human being. If they wake you up at midnight, you're ready to go because you're like, I enjoy doing this thing. Even if it's from sleep, I'm ready to go. And I feel like that was what, remember when I said when I go into 100 level, the way I felt about quantity surveying was boring. I know for sure I didn't want to live my life like this. Going to an office, waking up and doing, or going to construction sites. Immediately I got that Blackberry gig and I was doing that. I could see my true self. No matter what the project was, like it was always interesting to brainstorm on, this Blackberry Z10 is out. How are we going to sell it? It was exciting. It was always different projects, different devices.
So it was dynamic.
Yeah, speaking with Al Jazeera, speaking with CNN, it was very exciting. For me, I felt, and also, remember what I said, by the third year, Twitter was becoming a big thing. And the same thing that is happening now with AI.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's interesting. You want to see where this will turn out to be. For me, that was a key part where I realized that this cliche thing people say, be happy at what you do, was actually a major thing for me. While I was doing that work, I was truly happy about it. That foundation really built me. It was one of the things that built my communication. I'm an introverted person normally. So it would even be surprising that I work in media because I'm really a quiet person, introverted.
Yes.
But the Blackberry project really puts you in the forefront. You are speaking with a lot of students. You are planning activations that are going to hit 3,000 people. You are speaking on Al Jazeera, like I said. So you had to, it was
so it pushed out. You brought you out of yourself.
It brought me out of myself.
You learned how to
connect with people, communicate more, be able to differentiate your work and your personal life. So that even though you're an introverted person, you still know what needs to be done on the work and everything.
Now that's a big one. Being able to separate your personal life from your work life.
Yeah.
And whatever your work life required at that time, it taught you to give it.
Yes.
And I can also imagine that it also taught you to articulate your thoughts. You're talking to the media, you're able to put your thoughts together succinctly and drive home your point within that time.
Exactly. Like that's something that I feel is always a continuous growth. I feel like once the camera is not on, I speak easily and everything. But once the camera is on, I'm like, oh, and that's something I had to grow. I remember one of my mentors, same thing he shares. He fully introverted. But every time he shared, he needed to build himself because this is key to my growth. So it's something that you need to build and know that once the camera comes on, you need to just get it done and everything. So I think that Blackberry project was a major starter to building that skill.
So moving to Redbox, of course, you know you want to go into business, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I already have the skills. I already see the potential of what I can get
Exactly.
from here, but I need to be able to
Structure.
put my business together. So that means from the get-go, you wanted to build something solid.
Yeah.
Not just your skills. You didn't want to freelance. You wanted to make a business out of it. What did you think you needed to get from another business? And do you think that one business was able to give you what you needed?
Okay, yeah. When I decided that model was, again, before you do anything or before you start anything, they always say gather knowledge. It can be from reading books. It could have been watching YouTube videos. It necessarily didn't have to be going to a physical place. For me, I believe in consistency. Consistency is a key part of growth. And what going to a physical place will do for me is that it makes me grounded. So that was the first thing. That once I joined a company, I didn't know if it was going to be Redbox Africa. This was when I was planning it out. Once I'm able to go to a particular company and go there daily, it's also building me for my own business because in business, I am going to have to be going to the office.
There was a discipline you were looking for, and you needed to be accountable so that you could be accountable to
for
yourself.
my own. Exactly. So that was the first thing. And then secondly, I needed to also do the internship at a company that is similar to what I want to do. It might not be the exact service, but we're in the same industry. Also, the founder is someone that thinks differently. I try to do things differently. In everything that Dots Media has gone ahead to achieve, it's always a one-of-a-kind thing. I don't jump on a bad one, got to do the same thing. So I was looking for that kind of company and founder that thinks differently in a unique way. That way, I'm also able to learn how to
Go against
the crowd. Yes. Oh, even though everybody is saying this thing might not work, I know someone else that has done it or someone else that believes it's possible. So then the third thing would be generally the structure. How does staffing work? How do you hire? Manage monthly salaries? The truth is that it's also not only what I want to know, it's also what not to do. That was also important to me.
Right.
What are the things that team members would complain about in an organization? Meaning that's something I would know that I don't want to do so that I'm able to keep my team or I'm able to grow more exponentially. And yeah, those were the key aspects of why I decided to join Redbox Africa. The founder was also young and dynamic. If you speak with everyone that's gone through Redbox Africa, they will tell you he's a creative person. It's just different. It believes anything is possible. That was a key thing to my journey. Like being able to know that, wow, even if anyone has not done this before, it build that foundation even more to say, oh, someone is doing it. And Redbox Africa was maybe 3 or 4 years running the operations, the learnings of how operations run and how team members engage the founders or the communication. Those were key things. No matter how much value you have as a person, if you don't learn those things, you can't run a business. That was the key or the foundation for me. And I wouldn't say it was enough, but it was a key part of it. The next thing that would follow with mentorship, which I tell every young person, mentorship is something they underplay. I don't know why, but I think the younger people now, and I'm still young, by the way, every time I speak with them, they don't understand the art of mentorship or being a mentee and knowing how that saves you a lot of time.
Saves you from
mistakes. It saves you, like just being able to learn from someone that's gone ahead. It can't be emphasized. It can't be too emphasized, as a matter of fact. So for me, having somebody as a mentor and having Adebola Williams, who is the founder of Red Media Africa, that was the agency for Blackberry project. Oh. Because again, during that Blackberry project, Adebola Williams just took a liking to me. Every time now when he shares it with people, he just met this young person and he could see the difference. And he could also tell where this person was going. And that helped him to I don't think we really sat down to talk about, will you be my mentor or will I be your mentee and all that.
Sometimes that's how mentorship happens. To be open to it. Somebody looks at you, takes a liking to you.
Yes.
Somebody takes a step closer to you. You also take a step closer.
Exactly. It was being a mentor to me. It was being a mentor to me from before I finished Blackberry. But when the guidance really helped was, I think, in the first 5 years of the business, like Adebola Williams was impactful on my journey. Right, in just guidance, being able to have someone to speak to and share an idea with, this is the project I'm trying to do. What do you think? Or being able to open doors. Because that's what mentorship does. Like you might have all the greatness and everything, but without access, you can just be there in the blind. So having Sam Adeyemi, having Adebola Williams was a key part of that foundation for where I've gotten to now.
Interesting, fantastic. So if you look back now to the early days of Dots Media. And that could be the early days before you even decided to say, you know what, let me go and learn a bit of business.
Yeah.
How would you describe some of the challenges that you experienced? Straight from school.
Yes. So Dots Media kicked off officially in 2014. For the first year plus, I was the only team member. We started with just this service, influencer marketing, and it's something that one person can do as a business. We want to create awareness for either an event, a project, a product we want to do. We need influencers. The usual process then was I would get maybe 10, 20, 30, or 50 influencers, put them on a WhatsApp group, do a proper briefing to them. Sometimes I take them to the office of the client. We do the briefing together. They understand, oh, this is the teaser stage. After the teaser, this is the campaign period. This is the reporting. And it was just me alone doing that for 1 year plus. I think it was about after 1 year, 3 months or 5 months that I employed the first person, Emmanuel. Great employee, great team member. And then that was where the journey began. In the early years, maybe the first 3 or 5 years, one of the biggest challenges would be financing. Because even though it was clear that we had the edge, we had this USP that no other brand was doing. As a matter of fact, in that first 3 years, other agencies were outsourcing influencer marketing to us. So from Insights, Red Media Africa, Makova, different agencies would get the brief from the client because they were bigger agencies.
So they could get into the door, command the
and then when they get out, they're like, oh, this service, we know someone that is doing greater or better.
Okay.
Let's pass it on to
deliver it on
their behalf. They would represent with the client. Then that was also doing direct with the clients as well. And one major challenge was financing. And this is how it works because in the space where we play, the brands would reach out to you, tell you the work you're about to do or the project you're about to do, but they are not ready to pay you up front.
They expect you to use your money.
You can do it, but do you have the financial capital? If you can't, then you can't get the job. And because we're just starting, and this is a business I also had envisioned to not take loans or investments.
That was the main personal
principle of how the company should grow. If it's not needed, and that was because I also believe that for what we're doing was service-based business, we don't necessarily need investment. We don't really necessarily need loans. So once the client reaches out and gives us the project or the brief, that was always the biggest challenge where we're like, oh, now that we've won this client or this project, how do we go about it? Especially if it's a 25 million naira project, 15 million, which was the range in 2014 and all that. So it would entail sometimes we collaborate with another agency. Sometimes we would have saved some money from some other project, profit from some other project and be able, but we're turning down projects as well.
Because you couldn't
finance it. And like I said, it was a stringent rule for us not to take a loan.
Influencers will not hear.
Influencers don't. They have to get paid. Yes, they have to get paid. So that was a major because it would have also helped with higher growth or longer term growth in that period. Second would be staffing generally, which is a long-term challenge. When I talk to other founders or CEOs, staffing is a major challenge. The model that we're also running where most people were employed from the get-go are people with basic or no knowledge at all of digital marketing or media.
So you had to do the
training. So I do the training for 3 months to 6 months. I'm very hands-on as a founder or as a CEO. My team members say that I'm not the typical CEO. I can be at an event, I'm picking up chairs to go. I don't just sit. You see a lot of CEOs are not typically like that. So for me, that was the model I used in bringing on people. As long as you had the right drive, you had the interest, you can do it. So we just bring you in, do 3 months, 6 month training. But what happens is that in 1 or 2 years, they want to leave. Because the problem is that now that you are experienced in it.
After training them.
After training, yes. Other agencies want to poach them. Brands want to poach them. And they offer them a higher pay that we cannot pay.
Can't afford to.
Yeah, what we've done is I brought you in, trained you, and we're supposed to both add value to each other for a period of time. One thing I say is that the staff scenario with employers is not a marriage. Nobody can be there forever. It would be nice to have the team be with you forever, but it's just what it is. That was a big challenge in the early stage where it was hard to keep a team that was going to be, this member has been with us for 5 years. This member has been with us for...
And I can imagine how extra frustrating it is because you couldn't afford to hire the top of the range people. It was also a relatively new space.
Exactly.
It's not like there were a lot who understood
exactly.
So you constantly had to bring in people who didn't know anything, train them.
Yes.
At the time that we're now supposed to be working without supervision.
Yes, without supervision. They get a poach and leave. And that was a challenge.
So you were constantly training.
Yes, and it was a big challenge. Up until now, staffing is a continuous because in the last 4 years with the brain drain, where people are on the
How many
jackpot
stars
journey.
have you lost to jackpot?
It's something. I also think it's a blessing with COVID and everything, because what happens as well is that you are able to now bring up a structure.
Yes.
Not all team members need to be full-time. We have contract staff or contract team members. We have people that work in other countries, not in Nigeria alone.
Makes sense.
So I would say those are the two major challenges in the first few years.
Sure.
Client was not a problem.
Because get me in the room.
Yeah, it wasn't a problem. For example, we always say in the first 10 years as well, we've never tried out sales before. We've never had a business development person before. We've never had a sales team before. From the get-go, people also ask us, how do we work with global brands? We work with brands like Pepsi, HP, Intel. It's just one thing I said earlier. We had the USP that was able to get us into the room, and we do great work with the USP. So it's not just only about, oh, you know how to do AI. You're one of the first set of people. Do you do it very well as well? I think those were the key ingredients that really help.
Once you get into the room, you have a USP that opens that.
That brings you into the room.
And once you get into that room and you make the pitch of your life, and you get that opportunity, you do
good
work.
Yeah. That's why for the last 8 years, we've been working with Pepsi on digital marketing and all that. Yes, we've worked with different brands, 3, 4 years, 5 years.
So based off your good work, you tend to have clients that keep coming back.
The highest funnel for clients that we work with is referral. And I think that maybe that's what has also informed us not having business development, because we really just get referrals. We get people reach out to us. Oh, we heard you did this work on this brand. Netherlands Embassy referred you. And then we're able to get on that job and sustain it.
That's very powerful.
Yes.
Very powerful. I know Dots Media House has transitioned beyond digital or influencer. It's now a 360
company.
But in the earlier stages, more than 50% of what you did was influencer marketing. Yes. 100%. What made your agency so dominant? Did you even have competition? Within that competition, what made you dominant?
Okay, when we started in 2014, I started with influencer marketing. We were doing like the digital marketing on the side. Some clients will come to you, even though you're doing the influencer marketing for them, they're like, oh, but do you know how to do social media management? We're like, yeah, we can do it. But we don't necessarily pitch it. As at the first 2 years, we didn't used to pitch every other thing. Like media buy, like sponsored ads, social media management, content development. It was strictly influencer marketing. So that's what we started as. Oh, being an influencer marketing agency. Because remember what I said about the USP. Once you have a niche and you're able to conquer that niche, it would open, they know you, let them know you for something first. Before you start to introduce, we can do this as well. So for us, I've always known as the visionary that it was going to transition into becoming where we are right now. But it was going to be a journey. How it would happen, I didn't know. But when I look at companies like Insight Communications, that was where we're going to go to. How we will get there, the process. The first 2 years, we started with that influencer marketing, and there was no competition. Like I said earlier, we had Insight, Red Media, most agencies outsourcing that part to us. They go ahead, pitch for the client, win the client, and they just give us that bit of influencer marketing. By the third year, a lot of agencies were starting to see that this was a viable service and decided to add it fully into their agency.
So the agencies that normally would have given that, started doing that by themselves.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. By the third year, we became fully a digital marketing agency. That was the first transition. We now started to do everything around digital marketing.
And fair enough. Those that would give you work has now taken your work. They are doing it. So you also decided
even though
to
we're still doing quite a bit,
forte.
we're still doing a lot with influencer marketing. But what happened also is that you are basically just aiming to bite more of the cake as well now. Because now we have this lineup of clientele. And the way we also make decisions is that, like I said earlier, we try to do things uniquely. We don't just do it because everyone is doing it. We started to get a lot of demands as well. The brands would reach out to us and say, oh, is it only influencer marketing you can? Oh, we wanted to work with an agency that would do digital marketing fully.
So the clients didn't want to deal with too many agencies.
Too many agencies, yes.
Can you also do this?
Exactly. That was one of the key things that informed our transition as well. To say, oh, actually, we do it. Don't want to be known as an influencer. Maybe it's time to transition and now become a full digital marketing agency. So in the third year, we did that, started to do social media management, which was the second powerful service that we do. We create content for the brand, graphics, create websites, and that was done for the next 2 years again. By the fifth or sixth year, we also transitioned from being a digital agency, because now as at the sixth year, which was 2018, we are done really well. We're working with quite a bit of global brands. We're known in our industry. At that time, we had even released an industry report on influencer marketing. So we're totally...
Nigerian influencer marketing.
It was featured in New York Times, featured in major platforms across Africa. We had stamped our position
Right.
in the industry. We also made a strategic decision. Now we're a full team to start to pitch for full 360 marketing projects. And that was when we transitioned into becoming an advertising agency. And it was also gradual.
What informed that? Were your clients also asking?
For
or
that.
you just felt like, okay, we've done this? Because now you started as an influencing company.
Yes.
Your clients began to request, oh, can you do a bit of social media
Yes.
as well? Then you took that on and became a more rounded agency.
Yes.
What informed that transition?
Yes. One of the things that informed that would be that as a company, you have to set long-term goals. So for us at that moment, we're already working towards becoming more than one company. So in 2017, 2018 was the first time we launched a subsidiary company called Trendupp.
Right.
Influencer marketing was doing so well. Everyone knows what influencer marketing is now. It had gone beyond just having it as a service under Dot Media.
Right.
We needed to make it a company on its own because we're forerunners in it. We've helped a lot of influencers to build their career as influencers. We needed to now build a company that focuses fully on influencers. Trendupp is known as the home for influencers and content creators, both in Nigeria and eventually in Africa.
Okay.
When we created that company, we knew that it's become a company on its own. We needed to expand as well. Once you've conquered a space, forward is always the way to go.
Absolutely.
And when you have a benchmark company like Insight, Red Media, that you are aiming to, that's the natural route to take. And again, because we already had the access to the kind of clients we work with, it's easy to replicate what has been done in influencer marketing, digital marketing into media buying, production, and all that. So we kicked that off from 2018. But it was also a journey. We didn't start everything at once. We started from doing media buying, so putting content on billboards, radio, TV, transition to starting to do our own production.
From being a full digital marketing company.
Agency.
So you added
media
into
buying.
it, and you were buying media not just for digital.
Yes.
You were buying
exactly across offline now, traditional media buying. So we're buying across radio, TV, billboard. That's now gone beyond digital and influencer marketing. And then that was when we really kicked off a lot of the projects that has now brought us where we are now, like the Trendupp Awards, the Digital Jollof events, just different projects that we now do outside Nigeria and within Nigeria.
Interesting. Let's talk a bit about Trendupp Awards.
It's interesting to me.
It's actually very interesting. And I take that back to what you said earlier about why you went to work at Redbox. How you were looking to work with a place that
they do things differently.
Because you believe that was how you were wired.
Yes.
What informed, because influencer marketing was new, what informed you creating that? Because right now, as of today, that is still the only word that honors and sees the achievements of influencers, and they all gravitate towards it every year.
Yes.
What informed that?
Okay, everything we think are dots. We just want to do something that is the first time. Because if 5-10 people are already doing something, especially if it's one thing that we hear in the first 5-7 years of our business was always, can you do a training? Can you do a seminar? Can you do an event that would train people on how to become? I'm like, you can actually get this anywhere. It doesn't, like, we don't have to, there are so many events that teaches how to become an influencer. If you go on YouTube, there's so many things. So it wasn't exciting. For me, everywhere I lead my team members or how my team members have been grown to think now is that if it's not exciting, if it's not going to challenge us or make us...
Why do it?
Don't just join the bandwagon. For me, every time we've heard that, do a seminar, and it's always been a no. Immediately, we created a Trendupp company. We have different initiatives coming out. There's a mobile app we released that we've drawn back to create something different with it, and then we're going to relaunch it. But the mobile app was majorly to have that platform. Trendupp is the home for influencers and content creators on a platform where they're able to enjoy different things, enjoy funding for their crafts. Look at Korodum Boys, for example, who create short films for social media.
Right.
Imagine what they'll be able to do with them getting resources. Imagine the people creating pictures or photography and everything, what they can do if they're able to get people support the craft. So once we are having that platform where they are going to be able to get that funding, be able to get tips from their fan base, you see how people come out from Big Brother and they're getting fans buying them houses, buying them cars. That's the power of the fan base. And being able to have that done on the Trendupp app as well, where they're able to connect with their fan base more directly. These are some of the things that I can't share too much, but these are some of the things that the Trendupp app will do. One of the initiatives we thought about was that because of our journey of how we started the influencer marketing direction, we realized that we know more about the work they do the effort they put into this work is so much that people are not seeing. A lot of people don't see what these guys
We
do.
take it for granted.
I'm telling you, 1 minute content on social media takes them to create. The resources, the time, the effort, is a lot. And we're like, how come musicians have their own award platforms? Footballers have their own award platform. Movie stars have their own. It means that people don't respect these people enough. Or they don't just see it. It might not be even, it might be that they just don't see it. Like they just think, oh, they are playing. And we realized that it was time to create that platform that really recognizes them and shows the efforts and everything that goes into what they create. And 4 years down the line, this year is the 5th year. It's just been amazing. It's become an award that they've all embraced. You have to see when the nominees list is coming out, how much they are looking forward to being nominated. It's just been a journey for the awards.
That's really very powerful. And I think the fact that you yourself started out as an influencer. Now, I don't know if you did influencing to how it's being done now.
Exactly. I was going to talk
all
about
the guys that are doing skits.
Yes.
And they're really doing full production.
Yes.
I can understand that from a production
Point of
perspective.
view.
And a lot of them are probably also doing this without having the kind of team a production company would have put together.
Yes.
So in terms of seeing that effort, but how, in the beginning, how did they embrace it? And how has that morphed to what you have now? Was it a struggle getting them to see or to understand what you were doing? Was it a problem getting support?
Yes.
In terms of brands, even kicking it off. I remember the first one. How was that journey? Despite the fact that you already had an organization, you had KPI in that bit.
Yes.
But to get this thing off the ground, how were you able to convince people that, see, this thing has never been done before, but this is how we're supposed to do this, and I need your support?
To be honest, I wouldn't say it was complex or difficult. And the reason is because becoming an influencer is quite easy. We intentionally built some people, right, to become influencers, because what we do is that we're able to cite someone and say, the way this person talks on Twitter, you have what it takes.
Talent.
Like to tweet something and it goes viral, or a lot of people retweet it. You are probably just not channeling it right. Okay. So we're able to help you and guide you and say, oh, you know what, Pamela, instead of going about this thing like this, right, this is how, if you tweet this at this time, you're able to get this amount of retweets. If you say, once this topic is going on and you make a comment like this, you're able to get this amount of retweets. So for the journey or the process, it wasn't complex because everyone that became an influencer, everyone that is an influencer right now, already had it in them. It was something they were doing naturally already. Like the way someone on Twitter, on Instagram, just posts a picture. But you can tell someone that even though they are not an influencer yet, they have the potential of becoming an influencer. And that's why you also see that it's not every musician or every movie star that is an influencer. They can be popular, they can be one of the big actors, but they are not an influencer.
Okay, I need you to define influencer.
Okay.
Who is an influencer?
Let me use content creator instead. Everyone is an influencer because the idea of being an influencer is being able to influence someone to do something.
Right.
It can be a CEO that also just comes up and says things about like running a business.
Right.
It can be someone in finance. There's someone training talking about real estate. So everyone is an influencer because everyone that has a page or a profile on social media has been given that power to influence. Daniel Rega just comes online and talks about his review. He just sees a movie and says, this is what I think about this movie or this music.
And everybody goes,
and people agree with him, people don't agree with him. So everyone is an influencer. But in terms of even now using it, even though you are already an influencer, because for you to be an influencer, you must have followers. Who are you influencing if you don't have followers? So you must have at least one person listening to you. But it's not every celebrity, like every musician or every movie star that actually leverages it. Right. Some people just use their social media and they're not using it the way Don Jazzy is using it, for example. Or the way Davido uses it, or the way there are just a lot of them.
So is it about being deliberate about how you utilize the platform? It's
about even the person themselves being interested, because it has to come naturally. For you to really do well in it, it has to happen naturally. It can't be forced. For the question you asked, for all these influencers and content creators, it was easy with them becoming influencers and content creators because they did it. They were doing it already naturally. A fashion influencer already must have had it even before coming on social media, must have been dressing well, interested in taking pictures. Someone that is a tech influencer must have been interested in looking at the phone and giving comments about, oh, Samsung, I think Samsung camera is better. Having arguments in the back end before coming online to now say, I can do this thing now. So it's just the guidance, which is one of the key things that Trendupp also aims to do for this industry, where we are able to put a bit of structure to the way it's done, because a lot of the influencers also run into fame. They are not always prepared for it. Some of them just, they are doing for fun, just creating, and their own content goes viral. And they're like, 1 million views. And then that's when they start to prepare for the fame. But they're already famous. Yes, so I think that's the only part that is still being worked on, which is just having a bit of structure for them to be able to be more profitable.
Do you manage these guys as well? Because when you say being able to have structure for them,
yes,
that helps influencers put themselves together, be properly managed. Now I can imagine, look at your years in the university when you were influencing without knowing that was what you were doing, and how you felt that, see, I want to learn structure, and you decided to go work somewhere. Now, in today's world where it's really about that one person, now that you understand and you've built a business for this long, Dots Media just celebrated 10 years last year, December, and congrats, by the way.
Thank you.
So are you also that powerhouse that helps these guys put themselves together, just like artists have managers?
Yes. We don't do the management itself. Eventually, we might, from another agency that we have now called Diversifying Africa. Because, like I said earlier, we also get a lot of demand for this. So in the last 10 years, we've gotten so many people reach out to us. Managers, direct management, every day, help us do the booking, when the brands reach out and everything. But we don't do that up till now. But that's something that would happen under one of our subsidiaries called Diversifying Africa. What Trendupp does, because we are very focused on it, is to be that home for all of them, both the managers, both the influencers. What we really want to achieve is to help them thrive more. Anything that has to do with the award. Nobody's honoring you. We're going to honor you guys. We're going to create that platform that honors you and help you grow. We have something called Trendupp X that just helps aspiring creators that want to learn, because aspiring creators look at the people that are already made and are like, well, how do I get to this place? So now we have Trendupp X. That is a platform that trains you practically on how you are supposed to. So we bring a force. So we call the people that are already made, the leading influencers, a force.
Right.
So imagine Diary of a Kitchen Lover, who is in the food niche. We bring that to sit with 50 aspiring creators in the food space. She's able to help them with tips and basic practical things of how they can grow to become someone like her. So that's what,
like an education bit.
Education bit, yes. So what Trendupp is aiming for is to be that platform where influencers know that they have a backing. They have somewhere that they get support in terms of anything, finance, support, award, recognition, just the different aspect of it, majorly. But they have their own managers. So some of them get their managers, which sometimes that needs to be managed properly as well. Managers can be obstruction. So the structure we're talking about, like just being able to help them, like create more platforms that will train them. There are a lot of them that are doing amazingly well. They've become a business. If you look at Kiki, for example, if you look at Proco Doctor, they are proper businesses that it's a full team. They can sell themselves. So that's where most times, most likely, if all influencers are able to get to, there will be more growth in the industry as a general.
Okay, so I want to dial back quickly to the Trendupp Awards. In the early stages, there are tons of people out there who have ideas of, I'd like to be able to do this, but I keep telling people nobody wants to support, nobody. The problem is just that first one, right?
Yes.
How were you able? It was also a first of its kind.
Yes.
So there are two issues. Number one, you are trying to do something that you have never done before. Then you are even trying to do something that has never been done before. Yes. Did you go at it by yourself or you got support? How were you able to convince? What's the strategy to convincing people to come along with me on this journey in the first year?
So I think that at Dots as well, as at the time when I started Trendupp Awards, honestly, we're used to doing quite a bit of first of its kind. When we did the report as well, nobody had done it before. We went at it. It was launched at the Social Media Week. It was great. For the awards, I would say it was challenging and at the same time easier because of the vantage point we're standing from. Because we did this on our 7th year of business or 6th year of business. We went at it ourselves, obviously, because when you're also about to do something that is a first of its kind, explaining it to people who will not grab until they see the results. Then they're able to say, the second one, okay, let's go ahead. Because this is what you did. Because we had experience from running our business for 7 years, we didn't do much in terms of looking for the partnership. They would say, go and do it first. Let's see. But we're lucky to bring on board Pepsi, who was already our client. So that was the sell. We were able to have access for them. And that was the first project they would sponsor that was the first of its kind. They usually don't jump on a project that is the first time and be on it. But because of our relationship and the agency relationship with Pepsi, they know how we do great work. They know once Dot is going to be on it, or once Dot is going to do this, it will be done excellently well. And shout out to Segun Oguleye, who led that process to bring Pepsi on board. And the result they've gotten has been amazing. They've been on it every year. This is the fifth year we're about to do it.
Amazing.
So that was the only support we got. And to be honest, if I'm being blunt, it wasn't even up to half of what we needed to do that project. It wasn't even up to 40 or 30%. So we had to invest our own funds into it. Also because we know what we're going to achieve. We know where we're going. We know what we're building. So it was interesting for us to invest into it. But again, that's why I call it a vantage point, because everyone that wants to start something new is not always able to fund it themselves. But that's been our model. We'll probably most likely wait till when we're able to, because once we do the first one the way we want it done, it's easier to sell for the other editions and everything. So for the first year, it was only Pepsi that was on board, which was good for us. For the other editions, having a global brand like Pepsi, where if you have the convention in London or Amsterdam or anywhere, they know Pepsi. So I think that was a huge value that really helped us as well for the next editions. And also when people saw the participation of the influencers, because it's something to go to brands and tell them that we're doing this influencer award, the first one, and we have the largest database of influencers. It's not everyone that will believe or know it. So from looking at the first year, they saw how all the winners turned up, having all the influencers in the same space and everything. It became believable.
And everybody is trying to cut the influencers anyway.
Exactly. And remember what I said also about when you get the chance as well, do you do the work well? So one feedback we've gotten from the awards, for example, is that every year people see the difference. They see the growth.
Right.
What's something different, new, was better. Right. That's from us pushing ourselves, challenging ourselves every time to make sure we do this thing better. Our core audience, who are the influencers and content creators, happy and feel proud of
this is our thing.
This is our award. This is our second year, for example, bringing on a brand like Cheaper Cash that was able to give out $1,000 to all the 16 winners. That's amazing. Different. Yes, it was good for them. They were able to use that for their crafts. That's real support for their craft beyond the award itself. Third year, for example, being able to give out a brand new car to Macaroni. These are some of the things that we are trying to do for the influencer space beyond just the award or being able to support them. And we're launching more initiatives to drive that goal of being able to create support for them. Look at Trendupp X, the feedback from the aspiring creators, because so many people want to become influencers or content creators now. And it makes sense because that's one of the fastest way for, even if the government is aware, that's the fastest way for the government to also be able to drive productivity, right, within young people. Because imagine Pella and how much he said he was making. If you hear a story of him from Ikorodu being able to make 100 million, and there are a lot of them. From our agency alone, we know how much we're paying out to influencers or content creators, right? So I think that's a major aspect of the country that we really need to take more seriously, where for the population we have, more young people being able to get into that space and make money from just being online, creating content from, is going to do a lot for our economy.
So just out of curiosity, of course, you hear a lot of influencers reel out incredible numbers, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes a bit not believable.
Yes.
I've been in conversations and they be like, this, that.
Yes.
You work with these guys directly.
Yes.
And I'm asking this majorly because, like you said, there's so many people aspiring, because it has become an aspiration just based on how these guys are being able to support themselves and their lives.
Yes.
Are these numbers close to being real? On average, it doesn't have to be the exact figure.
Exactly.
In a year, how much has an agency would you say you do to influencers on a big picture? Because then that gives a sense of the scale of what the industry is.
Yeah. The answer to this is dicey, because whatever answer I give cannot be generic for it to be slapped on everyone, because a lot of people are doing a lot of things and not legal. It doesn't have to be legal. It can be legal. What happens also is that companies and individuals also give opportunities to influencers and content creators beyond just content. Just because you're popular, individuals will invite them to come and sit in their house,
sit with me.
come
Let's
to my
have
event,
lunch.
and they'll pay them ridiculous amount of money. So beyond the work, there is the brand affiliation, how much they are being paid for skits or tweets. They are making a whole lot of money. And human beings are driven by fame. So you'll be surprised they will just come to my event and they'll pay them something ridiculous. But that's why I'm saying it can't be generalized. But in terms of the work itself, they are being paid well. The potential of an influencer, becoming an influencer in January, for example, becoming a millionaire by December, 100% possible. Because influencer marketing and content creation is now universally agreed as a medium of marketing that you can't run away from. Every marketing campaign that wants to start or every project that wants to kick off and you need awareness, influencer marketing has to be a part of it. From my own experience running an agency, I can call numbers. Influencers will pay 5 million to 10 million for creating a content, show up at an event to come and create the content at the event, sign you as an ambassador for 3 months, 25 million, 20 million. There are influencers being paid. Just one day, 2 posts as well, 200,000, 300,000. That can come as constant because there are so many brands in the country. There are so many individuals that need their services and everything. The numbers are definitely real. I don't know to what extent any other person has shared an amount. Because a lot of things are also make believe.
Right.
It's why it's called showbiz.
Exactly. You make believe
As
that
well,
the
so that the
next
next
person
person
can
calling you
pay
can
more.
pay you. Yes. From the agency and other agencies that pay them as well, and brands that pay them directly as well. And international brands also work with them directly. And they are being paid in dollars. The figures around that.
They're good.
Yeah, they are very good. These guys are doing really well. Especially if you are one of the top ones. 500,000 followers, 1 million followers, too, and you are known in your niche as a leader. You're doing well. Now, the part of the fees they get from the platform itself. TikTok is leading. They are making a lot that you can't control. You can't, because that's decided by their fans. Again, let me use Pella as an example again. The other day, I saw him doing a live and Anthony Joshua joined. What that does alone is that after that live, he's made a lot of money. Because what happens on TikTok is that from fans being excited about seeing Anthony Joshua on live with Pella, they start to gift him. So that's how the platform works. You start to gift the creator, and it can run into any amount. It can run into $20,000. It can run into $5,000. Any amount is possible with that.
Amazing.
And I know the platform takes their own, but imagine that being done every week or every day. And there's YouTube. Even movie stars are more serious with YouTube now than even cinemas.
I noticed everybody's dropping YouTube.
Yeah,
movies.
they would shoot a proper movie. YouTube is the platform they're dropping it. Because you're able to 100% control your revenue compared to all these other platforms and everything. If you use the same fund and you create this thing and you have to go and partner with someone that will take maybe 40% or 30%, but on YouTube, you're able to put it and drive the awareness with your own page that has millions of followers for people to watch it, and you mistakenly get to 10 million views or
mistakenly.
You have done well. Yeah. So they have different source of how they can make money, and when you compare that to professional works like being a doctor, you can't compare it, honestly.
The world has really changed.
Yeah, it does. And that's why as new technology or emerging technology is also happening, like the AI and everything, everyone is serious about it. Because it's going to meet you. Someone always says something that at the moment where you say you are ready, you finally tell yourself you are ready. The word has gone already. Yeah, so when you are looking at AI,
when you are not ready.
Yes. Once you tell yourself, oh, I'm finally ready, you are not on the
late.
cusp of being ready. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, now I want to talk about Tiwa. And it's from the angle of you like to venture into a lot of different business portfolios, right? Yeah. At least I know on this conversation alone, we've discussed the expansion that Dots Media has done. Yes. So from Dots Media, we've talked about Trendupp, we've talked about Trendupp X, we've talked about Asteri.
Yes.
Did I miss anyone out?
Trendupp, no, I'm not sure. Other initiatives on that Dots Media. Dots Media.
And you've tried to set up all of these things as individual businesses on their own that support Dots Media's business and can also get their own business outside. Now, as a person, you've also ventured outside Dots Media.
Yes.
Into
food business, real estate.
Bread. From media to bread.
Yes.
With Zarafet Loaves. I know you have something called Forge and Flip.
Amazing work, and it's exciting for me.
Real estate.
Yes.
What inspires this? Do you feel like you are being torn apart in different places?
Yeah. Okay, so I feel it's always not been like, it didn't used to be like that.
Okay.
In the first, from, let me say 2010, when I was working on Blackberry and all that, I was 100% focused on media alone, up until Dots Media's 5th year. In the first 5 years of Dots, that was also a goal I set for myself. I'm going to give my all into this media and build the Dots brand fully. The first ever company I created, except Dots Media, was the food business. So in the first 5 years, I was focused on just the media and building that up. By the 5th year, what was important to me was to diversify. So beyond media, God's assignment for me in life cannot be just media. I'm more interested in other things and would love to
Explore.
Funny how I'm in that space again now to explore and to do more things. I don't think that I'm built to be monotonous or to just be on one thing or true. So in our 50, I also believe that I had built something that was, even though we still continue to build, but I'm able to take my eyes off a bit and do some other things. And that was the first time I was able to venture into the food business. It wasn't something that I just thought about. It was a proper process. I did research. It was supposed to be either a bread business or a poultry business, actually, that I was going to do. Did a thorough physical, went to Ogun State, met with friends that run that kind of business, looked at the pros and cons. But one thing that was key to me in starting Zarafet Loaves was my mother, who runs a bread business as well in our hometown. When I was in school, my mom's bakery used to supply my school. So I was popular in secondary school for just having my mom supply our school. They loved the bread so much, like I was nicknamed after it. From when I was young, I was always going to the bakery with her. Maybe on holidays, I would go to the bakery, see how the process is done. It was very interesting, like just seeing the process of a bread, the mixture of the flour and sugar and everything, molded into the pan. Clay ovens, as at that time, it was clay, exactly. It was clay, wooden, fire and everything. Seeing the process of it being molded into the pan and then the wait out time of rising and then you put it into the oven and the fresh bread comes out. It was amazing.
Then you try that fresh bread with butter, melting on it.
Bread.
Oh my God.
They were crazy. She eventually stopped. My mom is over 60 now, almost 70. After a while, we all moved to Lagos fully and it was a business let go, even though the building and everything is still there. So as at the time I was going to diversify, that was an interesting space for me to get into. It's always been something I was interested in. Plus, not to take out the financial part. Financial part is that everybody will eat bread. Bread is one of those food that everybody will eat every day. So by the time I checked out the pros and cons, it was the business to do. And I can't even speak about that particular growth in 3-4 years. Being able to go from just having that one branch to having 2 branches. In Lagos. It's been amazing. I can do everything end to end in terms of the bakery. Because one thing I also do, if you remember what I did with Dots, going to do internship somewhere is something that was important to me. I learn everything I get into.
So you did an internship?
Because I had already done it without knowing. And it's
with
like
your
driving.
mom.
When you learn driving, you don't lose how to drive. From when I was about 14, 15, was when I already knew how to mold, put it in the pan, put it in the oven, the wait out time. I created the recipe for Zarafet Loaves, the recipe for the bread itself.
Wow.
Yeah. So, like, I was hands-on. I can tell you a scenario where a baker had already done the mixing, waiting for the rising. So, it's in the pan. You're waiting for it to rise before it goes into the oven. And he says, oh, he's going out. He wants to take a smoke and everything. And 30 minutes, 1 hour, time had gone. He's not back and everything. Eventually, that's how we realized he had left. Guess what? Another bakery had offered him a higher salary from just, I'm telling you, from working. So it's also a conversation about staffing that is different. That the way staffing works for a media company
is different from
when you're working with artisans or people that in the right context.
Semi-learned people. Wow.
That's how I had to lead that process. Thankfully, I was on that.
Was in the middle of
a production.
Bread.
Yes.
Then he said, I want to go and take a smoke.
Yeah, and he never came back. Yes. And by the time we reach out to him, maybe 1 week, it wasn't picking. 1 week after, I was like, oh, God, sorry. There's one, I work for this place now. And by that, you find out what was added to salary can be 2,000 naira or 3,000 naira. Not something. Anyway, that's the topic for another day. Yes.
Like, I can feel the frustration.
So the way you run that kind of business is totally different from when you're dealing with educated people in a media company. I would say that your question about, I think you were saying, did I feel like it was distracting or how do I
feel like you're torn in many places by doing all of these things in different industries?
Yes. So I count myself as someone that is able, I count myself as someone that has a high capacity to handle quite a bit. This is also from mentorship, watching my mentors and how much they do so much. Sam Ademi at 50 plus just went to do PhD. And I'm sure you know how busy Sam Ademi can be or who he is. So for me, like, it's growing that capacity every day, challenging yourself to know you can do more, especially if it's interesting. That's one thing I count as a factor for whatever I want to get into. Is it exciting enough to wake me up? Is it exciting enough for me to get up and want to do, even though I'm sleepy or tired and everything? So for the bakery, that was it. And then I kicked that off and then did that for the next 2 years. From there, I was able to start Trendupp also for the media company, a subsidiary. And just most recently in 2021, also kicked off the real estate company. which now connects back to what I studied in school.
The surveying.
Yeah, it will be interesting, especially for me, as at the time I was going to start, it was also trying to look out for things to invest in. We're doing this now as passion, media for passion, like this. I'm now interested in investing. How do I go about investment? I was starting to speak with quite a bit of investment professionals. One medium for me was going to be real estate. To really invest, real estate will always be a great idea. Instead of going through it the usual way of being individual, or I just buy a property, one of the real estate processes outside Nigeria that is very functional and profitable is flipping, which is not big in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, I don't know anyone that does it. What our model is that we buy undervalued properties, refurbish it, and then we're able to
Then
sell.
you hold it.
Either sell or hold. We've held a bit of the ones we've purchased, but we don't do renting. There's just so much happening with renting in Nigeria. But the goal is to sell eventually when it becomes profit. You hold it for a bit and then sell for a higher value. I run that with my wife. She's a co-founder of Forge and Flip. It's an exciting project we're working on. Just being able to sell an undervalued property that looks a type of way, and then you're able to refurbish it. And by the time you are 4 months after, you are seeing something that it has become. So that's what the Forge and Flip vehicle and the company is all about, the flipping model.
And I think it's consistent with everything you've said.
Yes.
Even though you hated quantity surveying, you're wondering, how am I going to get past it? But now, look at this. It's consistent with the fact that you are hands-on.
Yes.
You didn't just want to buy.
You could have just bought and...
Imagine the exciting thing about putting together... First of all, dreaming about what am I going to turn this place into?
And it's always exciting.
You start working at it, though you scream your head out, because then you're working with artisans.
Which my wife does amazingly well.
Fantastic.
Amazingly well. Dealing with artisans is something in Nigeria. I don't know if it's different outside Nigeria. I think it might be better. But in Nigeria, when you're dealing with artisans, it's a learning you have to take from God to how to manage working with people.
From God.
Yes, it's something else.
Interesting.
That's what the journey has been. I'm always looking out to... Again, like I said, one thing that is most important is just the excitement. And at this point, obviously, profit as well. We all have just 24 hours. So what I want to put my time into must also be very profitable, or
value for that time.
There must be value for it. And Dot Media on its own end, for us after the 10th year, we're back to day one. There's just so much we're about to do. We just expanded into the Francophone region, for example.
Oh, nice.
Our office is in Côte d'Ivoire.
French?
I just started learning that. Like I told you, 2 months ago in December, I registered at Alice Francais. I'm learning French now because it's a huge barrier.
Why did you go to the Francophone?
Okay, so we handled this project for a client in Côte d'Ivoire, the African Nations Cup.
Okay.
Their participation in it.
Right.
So I spent a bit of time there. And just before then, we had also been thinking of expansion, but we didn't want to do the expansion out of, you know how most companies, when they get to a particular age, you just want to expand. We wanted to have a reason and really look at it that the reason why we're even doing this is profitable. It's a proper direction for growth. So we're just thinking of different regions. So how do we, as a matter of fact, Middle East was the first that we're thinking about. Dubai, because media is big in Dubai. Top global companies are all in Dubai. So you're able to reach them even faster, able to deliver this great work that you do for companies outside, and not just wait in Nigeria for people to be coming to Africa or Nigeria first before they reach out to you. You're able to do this work outside. Spending time with my team doing this work for this client during the African Nations Cup, I was able to learn more about that space and how much spend that they have. Their currency has been stable from 2011, for example. Their currency has not dropped. It's been stable. Compare that to Nigeria, right? That was a factor. Secondly, if we were charging 10 naira for social media management here, in the Francophone space, they're charging maybe 4 or 5 times more because the demand is higher than the supply there. This is the research. They get their expertise from London and France rather than local, because they are not able to get the skills that is necessary in their country. So they are spending way more because they're spending in pounds and euro in those regions. So if you're able to have local agencies that are able to deliver the quality of people in London, it's a more profitable direction for our company than even Nigeria. Because in Nigeria, the competition is huge.
Yeah,
the agencies is huge. We are all speaking to the same brand, waiting for the brand to come in. That was the research direction, informed that, and basically brought Francophone region forward beyond everywhere we're looking at.
That's
and now we're
amazing.
just trying to spread across Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal, and all those companies.
Wow, that's huge. Congrats.
Thank you.
How long has that been now?
Last year was when we officially moved into that space. So all through this year, we're doing work now for Meta and a couple of companies.
Fantastic. And I find it very inspiring. And I find that you're able to just understanding self and being able to pace yourself.
Yeah.
And most importantly, staying with things that excite you. And excite you enough to get up and do,
exactly.
irrespective
Yeah.
of what you're going. Now, there are so many. I don't know if you've ever come across people who give you this type of vibe. You do so much, and it's like, guy, focus now. Is it only you, bread, you this, you that?
Yes.
Which one is next?
Yes.
Is it only you?
Yes.
Do you get that? And how would you say people should address that in people? If you ever see a problem,
Yes.
it's either you are supposed to solve it or you are supposed to support somebody to
Yes.
solve it. Now, and because you can see one problem is the reason why you can see 10 or 20
Yes,
other problems.
yes.
But within our environment, it's almost as if I stay in one place now. We know you as
This thing,
XYZ,
we
so
only want to know
stay
you
there.
as that.
But you've been able to get yourself out of that space.
Yeah.
And lend yourself to so many different things within media and even outside to other industries.
Yeah.
What would you say to people who find themselves being like this and they keep beating themselves down, saying, no, there's something wrong with me. There has to be something wrong with me.
Wow. I don't think that there's actually anything to say to those people that talk to you that way, to say, oh, just do one thing. I think it must be you yourself. So there's a phrase that I run by. It's a mantra for me. It's man know thyself. It's the concept of, as long as you 100% understand yourself, who you are, like you are in tune with who you truly stand for, to thyself be true, you are not going to be bothered about what is next. Because again, people speak to the level of what they know or what they are able to,
Their own understanding,
their own capacity,
their vision.
Yes, it makes sense. If you look at someone that is wealthy and he runs for president, the natural thing most people will say is, you're already wealthy. Why are you running for president? You don't know what is driving people. So I've realized that people actually, I feel like I've never experienced it. I really don't get people that say that to me. But I've heard a lot of people experience that. Or people say to me that, oh, this person does. I've never just had it before. It might also be the way I go about my businesses. These other businesses that we mentioned, as long as it's not media related, I don't put it out that much. Because the way I run these businesses don't actually need the media. So the food business, for example, I have huge distributors across Nigeria or in Lagos. I don't need any form of media for the business to sell. So I'm very subtle.
So you sorted that business plan and it's
And it's same thing with the real estate. When I explain the idea, it doesn't need media. Not too many people also know. And it happens with a lot of successful people as well. You'll be surprised at how many things they are involved in that you're probably not aware of. When you see someone involved in many things and everything is out there, what I would say to whoever is like that is that you know your capacity. You are the one that knows what you carry. Yeah, and assertion is very important. So for me, that's also something that is key to my journey. People you have around you is very important. So the people you bounce your idea off is very important. Like, it's one of the most important things. As a matter of fact, when my mentor was talking about this year and talking about possibilities, Samadi Emi, right, it was saying that as you see opportunities this year and these opportunities come your way, one thing that will be important for you to achieve the results of the possibilities would be the people you have around you. Because the people you bounce your ideas off
will crystallize
are more
what
important.
comes out of it.
It's very important. I'm very intentional about those people that I have around me. So that once I'm telling you I'm about to start Trendupp Awards, you're not going to tell me, are you sure? I don't think you should do it. I don't have people like that around me. Or I'm telling you, what do you think about it? I'm hearing your ideas about investment and I'm sharing what I want to do. The attitude is very important. So I would say that you need to cut off people. If not, these are like obstacles to your growth. It's not one person. As long as you know your capacity, what I'm always just pushing for is that work towards being excellent at it.
Right.
For me, I pace things. If I aim to move dot media to Francophone and it's beginning to affect what is working, I would rather pause it. We're trying to pitch for clients. It's not about I'm trying to have 10 clients in a year or have 20. I need to make sure that we're doing excellent work. So even though you want to do so much or you want to diversify, it's better to be excellent in two things than to be average in so many things. Because that excellence is what will stand you out. That excellence is what would. But it's a journey where you have to make sure that you are also not rushing things. So if you see my story and everything I just shared, there's a pattern to it. It's not just, I'm just waking up. When I was doing investment as well, I'm focused on forge and flip. I'm not trying to do too many things in that space.
So you said something powerful. When you're trying to do something or expand into something, and if within that process, what you're trying to do begins to affect what is currently working, you put a stop to that. Why is that? What's the thinking behind that?
Because you don't want to lose both ends. Yeah. So there are people that, let's say you start from 1, you're on the path to get to 10. The decisions you make on your journey to 10 is very important. If you get too distracted during the journey to 10, it would take longer. Before you know it, you think that because you are diversifying and I'm now in this space, I've launched again in this region, it might look like movement or like it might look like you are moving forward. But at the end of the day, if you had focused on what started it, you would have probably gotten to 10 faster. So I think that's one thing that I see a lot of people doing, where there's so many things they get involved in, but it might be disorganized. It's not aligning back to something, to the eventual goal. And what people don't do as well, that I also mastered doing, is to do reviews. Even though you start something, it doesn't mean that it needs to continue forever. It can be for a season. It's not a cast in stone that I started 3 companies, the 3 companies must be existing forever. Or I started 3 projects, it must be existing forever. So you need to also grow, being able to review things. At every time we sit down and review projects, so do we need to stop this thing? Is it still aligning with our goal? But people are also scared of stopping things. When you don't have the right goals or the right reasons you started something, you'll be biased about those decisions and everything, yeah. Like the bakery, we paused it for a while because of... So the process of how the bakery works is that at the beginning of the month, you do an analysis study of, okay, for this month now, looking at our customers and everything, we're going to need 100 bags of flour. For the bakery, you need about 15 ingredients for a bread to come out. Flour, sugar, butter, preservative, yeast, there's a lot of it. And we do the analysis at the beginning of the month. Based on that analysis, we're able to run all through the month, right, until the end of the month, and we're able to do a breakdown of, okay, this was our expenses, this was our profits. But since when the price had gone up, since when the gas has gone up, since when light tariff has gone up, your business can't run the same way. Every day, what you buy today...
So you can't plan for a month anymore.
Yes, for it anymore. And that wasn't the reason why we paused, because, again, you could have gotten someone to handle it. But I'm very hands-on. What I don't understand yet, I'm very patient with it. So the first thing is to just pause it. Let's do more research. Let's find out more details about how do you beat this. Because before we paused it, 3 months before that or 4 months before that, every month there was no profit. We're basically spending from pockets, from maybe profits we've made before. That's no more a business. For me, these are the things I set. Once it's no more profitable, you need to pause.
I did this to make money.
I've done 3 months. It's become a pattern. It's no more, last month was a error. There's something, we've done it 3 months now.
Back to no profit.
So that means there's something, and it was becoming tedious in terms of the planning, because every day you go back to the book and say, flour is now this amount in the market. Gas is now this amount. It affected the plan you had for yesterday, the projection you've done. So that's the...
And just having that boldness
to make sure you review things. Yeah,
and to stop when you feel you need.
Yes, reviewing is very important. At every point, quarterly, annually, you need to do it honestly with yourself or as a team. You need to review things and tell yourself the truth, because you don't want to keep losing money. One mantra that I use to put myself in check is that a business cannot thrive on popularity, but you can thrive on profits. So it's not about you being known. It's not about having plenty of customers, how much revenue is coming in, how much people know you. There might be a business that is not popular, that is not known at all, and they are making more profit than you. Make sure that you tell yourself that popularity probably helps with awareness, but your business cannot thrive on that. Your business will only thrive on profits.
Bottom line is what is important.
Yes.
Thank you so much. You shared a lot.
Thank you so much.
A lot with us today, and I'm grateful for your insight. Let me ask you a few rapid fire questions, so we'll just get quick to it. What's one digital trend brands should pay more attention to?
I think AI. That's something because what's happening with AI is bringing me that nostalgic feeling of how it was with Twitter and Instagram coming out, influencers and everything, and how we cannot run away from it. It will disrupt everything.
So how do you think brands should embrace it? A lot of people are afraid.
Yeah. It's going to affect, again, if I can talk about it from the business I run, the agency, it's going to affect the way we do things, the way TVC is being shot. 2 days ago, we were on set shooting TVC with Burna Boy for a brand. And I was just looking at everything, the production, the amount is going to change. It doesn't mean it will stop, because, again, there's always this scare about once there's something new coming out, people think it would delete the previous thing. It's not necessarily that when radio was out or this, I think they were going to say print was going to delete it or something. When digital came out, people were scared. Oh, nobody's going to do radio, TV, and billboard anymore. But right now, the budget for radio, TV is still higher than
digital.
But you need to pay attention, because one of the ways businesses get removed is not evolving. And I can say clearly that's what happens with Blackberry as well. Not going with the trend. You get the idea that something is working and it will always be like this forever. Nah, it's not. Change is constant, and you need to always be observant and ready to evolve.
So every business needs to find a way to integrate and work with AI.
You need to. It's obvious now that it's going to be a big deal in how things would work eventually down the line. And it's really
not a bubble, it's here to stay.
Yeah.
So if you had to describe your business philosophy in one Nigerian slang, what would it be?
I'll try to remember a slang. That's difficult. It's not a slang that works. Omo is coming to my head. Omo, running business in Nigeria is crazy. I also want to share the positive part, because journey our growth has really been inspiring to even me myself.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah, it's been inspiring to me myself. You look at Insight Communication, you look at all those companies, and you're like, this is where we are going, or even way bigger. But when you see Insight, and they call Insight's founder the godfather of advertising, he's done so much for the industry.
Yeah.
And those are benchmark for us. Or Bola Lagos, for example, at his young age, the achievement is enormous. Being able to achieve what a lot of people have not achieved in 10 years in agency. We did 10 years, we did a documentary, hearing feedback from clients, from partners and everything. It's inspiring to even me, myself. So for me, God is at the center of that. I always say that hard work will only go to an extent. So many people are hardworking. So many people have capacity. So many people have great ideas. The God factor has really showed up for us a lot. God is in the middle of everything that Dots had eventually become, or most of my business had become. Even from the scenarios of the opportunities that come to us, sometimes it wasn't the work. Like I said, we've not had a business development or sales process in 10 years, nothing like that. And we've thrived as a business. We've done way better than a lot of business in our space that is 20 years, 15 years. So I really wanted to, if I had the slang, I can't remember it right now, but Nigerian slang to describe that would
if it comes to mind. To mind. So what's one mistake you learned the most from in your career? It's not like you have to have had a mistake.
Yeah. I'm trying to...
So it's okay if you don't have one.
I usually don't count it as mistakes. And maybe that's why I'm not able to remember. I don't count the things as mistake. It's just part of the process. Because we've lost quite a bit of clients as well. Like that we're really looking forward to. We put in all the work. It didn't turn out, we didn't win them. So maybe when you review the process, you're like, oh, maybe we did some mistakes here. Or that would be for the client side. But in terms of business itself, I honestly think it's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey for me as an entrepreneur.
What's the best professional advice you've received?
Relationships. Taking relationships seriously. Like I said, it happens with some people. There's someone so talented in music. I've known him since university. Bola is so talented. Like, he can stand beside anybody. But I've known since when I was in school, that would be almost 15, a long time ago, 15 years or more ago. But it's still not blown. So when I'm using that as a scenario, what that explains is that you can have value in your hand. You can have this access, because God will not come down to help anyone. He would send people. A door has to be opened. Somebody has to be in a room that will speak about you. And I have countless experience or scenario in how things have happened for me. And it was basically someone speaking for me or referring me, saying, you want this thing to be excellently done. His team will do excellently well. So for me, he explained the idea of relationships properly. And that's one of the biggest advice about taking relationships more importantly. And that for me is something I had to be intentional about, because I'm an introverted person. So when you are introverted, it's difficult for you to keep relationships, follow up on people, because it's not a natural thing. Once I see someone on Instagram, I feel like they're okay, I'm good. I don't necessarily call or chat, but in the concept or the art of relationships, you have to be intentional, because how you make people feel is what will also is you'll get the result back from them on that. So I think that in business and in personal life, taking relationship more importantly is one major advice that would help anyone.
Finish this sentence. In Nigeria, if you don't dash, you won't survive.
If you don't have connections.
If you don't
have connections, and if you don't have coconut head,
I
Yes.
love these
If you don't have
answers.
coconut head,
You
you're not
have to
going
have coconut. I think I agree with that coconut head.
101%. When we were coming up for the theme for our 10th year, it was going to be something around madness. As a matter of fact, there's an inspiring tagline I saw from Insight Communication. I've mentioned Insight so much. Insight is like
It's like a mentor brand.
It's a mentor brand. What they've done over 40 years. Their tagline was, see what foolishness became. That's what the 40 years
that's
celebration
beautiful.
that's powerful because somebody went from working somewhere and deciding that I can do this, and he left a top paying job to go and start Insight. And 40 years down the line, Insight is seen as the godfather of advertising. Like, it's crazy. So in Nigeria, because the competition is crazy, 200 million plus. If you think of an idea right now, there are probably so many people that have thought about it. There's nothing new.
You can say that again.
So you need to have coconut head to go at it without any obstruction. Like, just go at it.
Keep putting your head in.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. You're only you. People might see you as a mad person, but by the time they see the results, and look at Burna Boy. Look, there's so many case studies of Nigerians.
Of coconut head.
You would, I'm telling you, and that's what has gotten them to where they are. No matter what was coming against them, they are still like, yeah.
Okay. Before we go, you mentioned something about working with your wife. I think we should talk about that a bit because having partners working in Nigeria is a completely different ball game entirely.
I have a book to write on that. Partnerships.
So, yes,
my God.
It's a pain point for a lot of founders, a lot of entrepreneurs. Let's not even talk about partnership, collaborations, the headache you go through with that. Now, when you speak of partnership, to now be partners with your spouse on a business is a completely different area. So my question to you is, because there are a lot of school of thought that'll be like, don't ever do anything with your spouse or whatnot.
No, oh my God.
How would you describe, and you have other businesses to compare.
Yeah.
There are businesses where you're not co-founders and you have one that you're co-founders on. How would you describe that experience?
I think this answer will be relative to everyone. It will be different for everyone.
Right.
For me, getting into the business ecosystem, I think partnership is meant to fast track your results. That's what people look for when they go for partnerships. Most people can do things alone. One of the reasons why people go into partnership is to fast track results. Right. If I'm able to do 10 things, having someone that is equally as effective as I am, joining me to do those 10 things is no brainer. I'm going to achieve faster results. So this has been my belief about partnership. But I've never done partnership before until my wife, right? Because I've just learning from people's experiences, seeing how it turned out, seeing it's just not being a good site about partnerships, how there's betrayal, how one person is effective, one person is not effective, how there's just so much around it like that. Even as much as having a vision and the other person is not as aligned. Yeah, so it can set you back. It can, for everything I've done, every other thing I've done, it's always solely, which I don't think is the best way. Again, when you get to a crossroad and you decide to go right instead of left, you never will know what would happen on the left. Maybe even how well we're doing, if we're a partner, maybe we're doing better, or maybe we would even be doing 20% of what we're doing right now. For me, this is my belief on partnership. And that's informed how I'd gone about my business. It's about not really being interested in partnership just because it's a bit scary. Once you get into it...
It's like you're married.
Exactly. Luckily for me, I know I'm married, right? It's been a blessing. Marriage has been a blessing to me as a person and on my businesses because being able to have a bright mind that you bounce, again, like what I said, association. If you need to take association right, then you better know that your partner is the first association that must be gotten right. If you bounce that thing off the person, or more, for me, it's been a blessing. I've been married. This is my 5th year.
Congrats.
Thank you so much. Just like yesterday, I'm telling you, the result has come out of that, of just the inputs from her on even other business or even our own business. She runs a back production company called the Indigene. That support and input and is, I can't explain.
Just a perspective that gives you another view.
Yes, I can't explain it. It propels you further so much. And so I feel like we align on our thoughts so much. We, like, if I'm saying something, she can finish the thoughts. Like we're so connected. And so it was no brainer and it wasn't something we planned. We just wanted to take our finance more seriously, invest and all that. And we're just thinking of, what else are we going to do? How do we go about? And we decided to start it as a vehicle, as a company, right? And the whole idea of the flipping, she's interested in that because what she does is also creation.
Yes.
She creates bags. She's interested in building things and all those kind of things. So the first thing was even our second bakery the second branch in Yaba, right? She did the whole modeling.
Oh.
And we did it out of saying, we're looking for artisans. Everybody was not getting what we're. She was like, this thing is not so. How come they are not getting it?
Now.
She did 1 month and she handled everything about the creation of the refurbishing. And we're like, okay. And then Dots Media was going to also move to, I won't call it permanent sites because we have.
No, it's not permanent yet, but it's a solid site. Yes. Congrats on that,
Thank
by
you
the way.
So much. Yes, it's a beautiful journey. And we also spoke with an interior designer, and the interior designer was telling us that when they create the concept of what the office will look like, they own the rights to the design. Meaning that when you're going to post about the office, you must give credit. I'm like,
after I've given you my money.
After we pay. And guess what? The whole idea of how the office should look, I literally drew it on a paper.
So it's your design on paper, but once they move it to the previous them.
So I had a problem with that. Even though they were like, after a while, they were ready to shift. But that kind of just gave me an inkling as well of, we are a creative agency. Why don't we do our thing ourselves? So beyond we created the whole design ourselves internally, turned it into the 3D and everything. And my wife executed it from Forge and Flip. When you get into our office, you'll be blown away with the execution. So
amazing.
That's where the collaboration started from first. And then we eventually was able to now make it a full company. And then we're able to, and the way they say two heads actually is better than one. It's clear on the partnerships that we do. So for me, I think it's different for everybody. I think a lot of people face challenges with partnering, going into a partnership with their partners or spouse because of a lot of factors. It might also be one of them not being transparent enough. You know how a lot of things also springs from upbringing. What people have experienced in their family as well sometimes comes out in how they're engaging their partner. But I think once you have a solid LD relationship, the results you can get from starting anything or creating anything with your partner is huge.
Thank you for that. The reason I asked, it was very important for me to get that because one of the questions that we get asked. So I also work with my partner, right?
Model relationship that we love.
Business partner for over 10 years now.
Amazing.
And one of the few questions that we always get asked is, how are you guys doing this?
Yeah.
Like how? Yeah. We've had a few people come and, I also do stuff with my wife.
I'm having this, how do I go about?
As if people are looking for mentorship or looking for a pathway within that space. Now, there's also the other flip side where you find some people who feel a little bit threatened by that. So maybe because we've been married for much longer. We've been married, I think we'll be 16 years this year.
Amazing, my God.
We're so used to each other that when it's work, we're working. Yes. So we could have a meeting with you now and we come meet you as partners and as business people. Then if there was a third party, you just hear, me, by the way, they are married. Oh. And we're like, that's not what the conversation is about. So at some point, we felt that people needed to also know that upfront. But in some other cases, once they know that you are married, it also becomes a problem. I know that there are lots of people struggling with some sort of partnerships out there, whether it's partnerships with friends, with siblings, or even with your spouse. I just wanted to hear it from another perspective with what you're doing. And I really appreciate how you've shed some light to it. I don't think I would have done it any other way. We complement each other.
Because I was going to ask now that just from learning as well, what do you think makes it work? Because I agree with you about the idea of a lot of people need mentorship because people are also starting to realize that partnership is important.
Right.
If partnership is important and you want to do it with another human being apart from yourself, the number one person that it will be most effective with will be someone you are living with, your partner. And if you're able to get that right, it will be easy. So that means a lot more people would be interested in learning how that works actually. And I feel like this question, even before I got married, that I also asked myself, especially because your own model is working from the same office. For myself and my partner, we kind of
do different things.
Different things. I don't get involved in, I don't have the skill at all to manage artisans. My wife knows how to talk to a bricklayer.
And she does bags. She works with artisans every day.
Exactly. She has the skill to communicate properly with them and manage them and one thing we share is the excellent thing. So if I walk into a room and there's an error that needs to be fixed or is not done well, If my wife walks into, she will
You
see
see
the same
that
thing.
exact thing.
Same thing. I don't know how, I've not experienced it. I don't know how it will feel if we're working from the same office. But I've had a feel of it because we worked from home during COVID. Fully. I was running she was running our production, and it was seamless. Like, it was beautiful. But from learning also from you, what would you say was that?
So I think what has made that almost like a walk in the park is, first of all, we are friends. And just
100%.
most of the things that you shared, that's the first person you bounce any
Anything
idea with before it crystallizes to becoming anything. Not even an idea, your thoughts. You are thinking out loud, you are thinking with them, thinking through them. Then you tend to crystallize things together. You bounce stuff, you see other perspectives.
Yes.
Even as simple as, see, this person said this thing to me, I'm replying and I need a second opinion. I said, come look at this. What do you think? I think you should just add or remove this. It's such an invaluable thing. So sharing that much friendship bond made it easy to be able to say, okay, we're working from the same place and all that. Now, that also has its cons because the ability to separate your personal lives or your personal love relationship from business sometimes, it takes a lot of conscious work. It actually takes a lot of work that I think it takes time to outgrow certain things because there are times that you are upset about something that is not related to work.
But you have to.
At work, I don't want to talk to you.
But you are
Right? Now, we have to do work and we have
management.
to talk. So if it has taught me anything, it's taught me to discipline my emotions, how I feel, to be able to put certain emotions down for a greater good. So now, there's something we are chasing. Will I now say because I'm feeling in a certain way, that one should go away? So it's taught me to go beyond how I feel. Sometimes it might take me a bit of time because how I feel is still how I feel. But I'm able to transcend that for a bigger picture.
Yes. That makes sense.
I think beyond that, that's really the major thing. Being able to keep, okay, this is my lover. Then this is my business partner. And there are times that one party can be, or you could be working on a project where it's one person's strength, the other person is weak at it. Then somebody is carrying most of the burden. Or you could be working at a time where somebody is not as motivated. Just those fears that you shared, you know, and being able to know that you have support or help to get out of that. You nailed it when you said, there are just certain things you need to get right and find a way to keep that relationship healthy. Then you can overcome. Because once you guys are aligned, this is what we're all chasing. We can come and talk about our issues later, but that's the goal.
Yes. I totally agree with you, especially on the friendship part. I agree solely about the fact that you must be friends. And what I would say is that from the get-go, try to be transparent enough and to build a partnership beyond business. If you already see yourself as partners, one thing I hear a lot of my friends or people generally ask me is, oh, you really go out with your wife? Like, you travel with... The thing is always surprising to me. Like, there is a comment. Or because I'm like...
Tiwa, you're getting... Like, you see Yinka somewhere, you'll be like, where is Bola? Any random person. Like, it's hard to see one person and not see the other person. And it's almost, oh, you guys come as a package deal. And that sometimes is a problem for business. Sometimes it's a problem for that.
But I don't... For me, I feel like I focus on, because everything has advantages and disadvantages. So you need to just know, is this most advantageous for you?
Yes.
Which is what I've seen, like from the get-go before I got married. And this is something I was able to learn from my sisters who are married to amazing men. They've been role models in marriage. About just being, I can't tell you how much benefits my wife been understanding everything that work is about or my personal life is about. It helps it, like, as small as I was going to purchase something, and huge amount, and I'd spoken to them severally about, oh, can you reduce more money? They had got it to the list. But as my typical self, before I do, I would just tell my wife, oh, this is where we had already decided on that. But before I make the final decision, I was going to take her there for us to see it together. Do you know when we got there? I didn't know that something like this would happen, or it was just the normal thing that, she just got there and spoke Hausa. Bola, they removed almost 7 million naira from this thing just because she spoke Hausa. I'm telling you, she spoke Hausa. The person was like my sister. They were mentioning place in Kano. Oh, this is where we are. That removed this amount. I've met someone before that was a billionaire that does art collection. It's just a huge, valuable person that I was looking to build a relationship with and everything. And the first time I was going to eventually meet him, I went to my wife. Thank God I went to my wife for that meeting. All the conversations we had, my wife had a knowledge on almost everything we spoke about. That's
So it
something
just
that is
made it
value
easy.
that you cannot put something to. So I show up alone because I don't want people to feel that it's me. I just realized that everyone has a different dynamic.
Yeah.
People are also not, they don't understand. One thing you said about mentorship, just being able to help people, I think it's something that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
100%. Thank you so much,
you so
Tiwa.
much.
Thank you
so
for
much.
coming.
This was beautiful.
The last guest dropped a word that they would like you to express. Of course, they don't know who it is. You drop a word and a question for the next guest. So the word in this case is sacrifice. What does sacrifice mean to you?
I want to share my thoughts without sounding too deep. I think that as I grow every day and become older, there's so many things that they didn't tell us, they didn't teach us as we grew older. So many things you run into, you just find out that, man, how do I deal with this? You are probably angry about some things. If you don't sit down properly and be selfless, you would most likely be angry about it. Because every day as you grow, you are going to face more challenges. Like it comes with adulthood, it comes with. So for me, the way I'm thinking about the sacrifice is for you to build yourself to a stage where you are able to not hold in too much anger or too much resentment or too much whatever is making you feel not good about what someone has done or how you wanted the project to go. You have to, because your mental state is important. If you are not able to make a sacrifice of building a structure for yourself to say, when things like this happen, this is how I'm going to approach it. So you are sacrificing that for a more healthy state of mind, for a more healthy set of relationships you can build with someone. Putting effort into something, and at the end of the day, you realize this thing did not go the way I wanted it, and it has an effect on you, right? That sacrifice is not the typical sacrifice that people think of, but it's a sacrifice. It's something you need to call sacrifice for yourself. To say, I would sacrifice my emotions to make sure that, and you mentioned even something like that, for the greater good, or for you get just being able to say, because if you, let's say for example, you have a manager and you were having an expectation, this is how the person should go, and it didn't go that way. It will take you sacrificing something in you to make sure you take it out of it and to really look at it and say, I hope that I'm able to explain that as well.
So if I get it right, once you've set a goal for yourself and you've decided within yourself that you have this thing I want to achieve on your journey there.
Yes.
Because it will not be a free ride, you will need to let certain things go in order for you to achieve it. That's powerful. So the question here is, if you had an opportunity for a do-over.
For a do-over.
What will you do differently?
For a do-over.
On this business journey.
What would I do over? I'm thinking, is there something I'll really do over? But there must be, because it's not perfect. No, but God is important in the middle of everything, and that's been important to us. Having a USP, funny how I can't think of any.
Maybe there's nothing you would do over.
I really think that we've been able to. What will I do? Because I really want to answer it for myself.
Yeah.
Just to really look at it, reflect on it. Would I do something
over?
differently? Would I do anything in business times? Business space? I honestly don't think so. I think I was able to. Yeah, I think I was able to. I'm impressed with the decisions I've made in life. I really think I have.
You are inspired by your...
Maybe what I would do differently. Because of the way the world functions, I'll be out more globally.
How do you mean? It's more global.
Something I said earlier about access, relationships and access. I've realized that I've seen, and this is also normal with everybody, you will see some people, when you review it very well, you look at it, you're like, this person is not as brilliant as I am. Or this person is not as but only because they schooled outside Nigeria, because they started traveling and being exposed early, that also propelled their success or businesses or who they will meet or the kind of network. I think that was something I was slow on. I was really focused on building ants in Nigeria, doing great work and everything. So if I was going to do something over, I would be more intentional about being exposed fast, because there's something international connections, exposure outside doors that cannot be explained. It's good. It has huge results. And I think it was a slow process. And that happens from you thinking that there's a limitation one way or the other. There are people that were also young and on that level as well, and they were applying for different things that was getting them into the States, getting them into, right? And it also propelled them. So for me, looking at my journey and what I've achieved, I think that would have propelled me even further. If I was able to access the international opportunities, be able to get into rooms as early as possible, that would have. And you also need to look at where you function. Right. And now the people that function there see things. In Nigeria, people respect that. Oh, we saw
once you have an international...
that's the truth. So I think that's something I would do over. Okay. I think that's the only thing.
Thank you. So now it's your turn. You are going to wrap up the show by saying a phrase in your native language that captures your philosophy on business and impact.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Now to Yoruba.
A phrase in Yoruba.
A phrase that captures your philosophy on life, business, or impact.
This is a hard one.
I think you should quickly revert to what your mom says
all the time. So it would be, I don't know if I'm saying it the right way, but Toba Biyon, in your Buddha Tsunraibi, I've realized you must unlearn a lot of things that we are told in life or grow on that are probably standing as obstacles to people's growth. But because they are stuck on it, on what they've learned, on what they were told as they were growing up, oh, this is how life is, this is how you must, it's part of it. So you must be ready to rebet yourself, have new philosophies, have new thoughts and everything.
So you must be willing to unlearn at every stage.
At every point, everything.
So everything you think you know is not always the right thing.
You can't be expecting new results and be doing things the same way. It's the same with everything. You can't say there's a particular age you must marry. There's a particular age you must give birth. Who made these rules? There's you can't be successful as a 9 to 5. You have to unlearn things and to really come up with new philosophies, challenge the thing, ask questions. The problem is that people don't want to stand out. They don't want to be the first person. Don't do this thing like this.
They don't want to stand out.
They don't want to stand out
from the crowd.
But there's no way you're going to do great without standing out.
Thank you so much for your time. We just heard from Tiwalola Olanubi, a trailblazer, changing Nigeria's marketing landscape. What's the next big idea you're going to work on? Remember, real stories, real strategies, that's how empires are built.